Wendy, tell me what brings you into the Heal With Me space, because we've spoken and you found me through the podcast on radical remission, and I know that your sister passed away after 19 years with cancer, following traditional doctor's treatments, basically, and that's led
Yeah.
you onto your own kind of healing journey.
Yeah, a massive one, by the way. Every day it just grows arms and legs. Even since I've last spoken to you on any messaging that we haven't actually ever spoken, but on our messages. Yeah, I think from a very young age, I was always fascinated with disease, right? Just why do people go? How did that happen to them? And then I lost a few uncles and aunties along the way, and I was still fascinated, like, why them? They're lovely people, right? And then my sister, who we're only 18 months between us, I was like, oh, this is not good. We were raised the same, and we went into our adulthood differently, appreciate that. But why? Why her and why not me? Um, and then I just had to find out why. So I started off with a man actually called, I don't know if you've heard of him. He's called Paul Lindersert. What I'm about to tell you, I don't actually completely agree with him now because I've learnt more. But I followed him because he lived in Canada 20 years ago. This was, and he took people into his farm for 21 days for like 20 grand, let's just say. And these people would even start to reverse cancer while they were with him. He would do holistic things, yeah, good food, um, mindset healing. And he also did root cause as well. And but then they would leave him after 21 days and cancer would return.
Yeah.
Because if we're in a terrain, a plant pot, whatever you want to call it, and he put them into a different plant pot and gave them different soil and terrain, but then they went back to the same plant pot.
Yeah.
Okay, so he knew he was onto something, and he also saw patterns. Of course, he saw patterns because he was doing one-to-ones, and he started to see patterns of breast and testicle and prostate, and he started to document it. And he very bravely started to put himself out there, but he did get trolled quite quickly
Yeah.
because, yes, okay, he made £20,000 out of each person, right? Well, that was including transport and food and everything. He got trolled for that because he was making money out of cancer. But these are people that most of them go to these places when they're stage 4, right? But you and I know if you get to stage 4, sometimes the damage of the treatment, you can't, even with all the will in the world and the mindset healing, if that treatment's damaged your vessel may have to go, right? Even though you want to stay. We know, like, Anita Ijani, whatever her name is, she
Yeah.
came back yeah. So we know there's possibilities, right? But 19 years of chemo, so that was 3 breast cancers, full bone mets, and then liver. And then she was tired, and she had 3 children, and she was tired, and she just started to shut down, and we had to let her go. But she let me do some of the things that I've learned, which is the root cause. And I found some things out about her that she'd been suppressing.
Wow.
And then she said, look, you are a pain, Wendy. Keep asking me questions. Because that's the whole point, isn't it? She's not somebody who will just give up information, right? And so we'll say the whole point for her was that she suppressed all her life. And she just said, I'm going to humor you. And there's something I'm going to tell you before I go. I also lost my dad 2 years before I lost Julie, and he said the same thing, which was really weird. And they weren't together when they both said this to me.
Yeah.
They said, my familiar, Wendy, is my safe. And to you, Wendy, that might seem crazy, because actually have a narcissistic husband and my dad had a narcissistic wife. Even though that's hard for you, Wendy, this is a safe place for us, and we don't want to spoil the apple cart. We don't want to
Yeah.
let the apples off the cart. You know what I'm saying? And but for me, that would be like, I really don't give two hoots. I would tread on fire to get out of this mess, right?
Yeah.
And I try to gently say things about boundaries, limited beliefs, and some holistic, whether it be meditation, healers, Reiki. But they were so trapped in this bubble of familiar, which was safe for them. As you know, I know you do work on the safe. And I was like, wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Because if I feel discomfort and then I hear the safe, am I safe? Am I unsafe? I do something. I just change it. I don't really care who I upset,
Mm.
but I've done that all my life. It's a
Mm.
condition that I've conditioned myself into. And I worked out that if you come here as a soul, so this is Julie's soul and this is my soul, and we had 19-year-old parents that didn't love each other and they were arguing all the time. And my sister's love language was, if I keep quiet, they seem to not argue as much.
Yeah.
And I truly believe this. I was in the queue and I saw this, right? And I was waiting for my vessel. I know this is crackpot stuff. And I just thought, right, that's the parents I'm going to go down and be their child. And I'm going to show them how lively a child really can be. And I came down. She was my sister. These were my parents. And I absolutely drove them nuts. I was loud, naughty, everything my little sister, my big sister wasn't. And I think probably the naughtier I became, the quieter she became. But she said to me, "You never. I don't know where you got this sparkle from. I don't know where you got this panaz from, this zest." And we both we didn't have a very good childhood. So she would suppress, and I would split them up. I would call the police. I'd mop my mum's blood up, whatever it was. She was older than me, but I
Mm.
would go to her and say, "Can you help?" And she'd say, "No, no, it's not my business."
Mm.
And as a 7-year-old, that was incredible. I laugh, but it's an incredible thing that she did, and it's an incredible thing that I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I've got two
So,
daughters who
yeah,
are that chalk and cheese. Like they're both kind of what I wanted to know was my daughter, who is outspoken, will upset people because she can't live with a truth that isn't out there. I've always been more diplomatic. My other daughter, is more diplomatic. But Eva, she goes all out. She can't help herself. And it's
it's her truth.
it's her truth, but it's our trigger. Like, I wonder how it affected you. Like for Eva, she's had to deal with a lot of people pushing back, and she's lost a lot of people from her life through being outspoken because people can't handle it. But I completely admire her, how she is in the world, because she's brave. She's so brave, and I don't have that skill. But like you said, right, not at the beginning, but a while back, was that the familiar is the safe, and it's not that it's safe because it isn't.
No,
We know that the core
no.
knows that it isn't safe, but it's safer than rocking the apple cart in the short term. Like it's safer to keep everyone happy versus keeping herself well. And I've had so many people that I've met on this journey and they haven't done well because they're frightened to shake the apple cart. They're frightened to stop doing. People who have been super busy haven't stopped because the world would end if they stopped. And it's like, if you don't
Well,
stop,
actually, it wouldn't end.
it doesn't end.
Yeah.
When they're gone, it doesn't end. But they feel so kind of trapped in that hamster wheel of being there for other people that it's more important to
And
appease.
if I asked my dad, he turned around and said, if I said to him, look, I would never interfere with my sister's relationship with her husband. That is a very insular thing. I would never say leave him. I never did. I never said it because I know the cure is within, right? I
Yeah.
know that's harsh, but I knew it. It was an innate thing. I knew that if we leave people, it's because we chose to, not because someone else told us to. But I was trying to teach her some boundaries. And she also had a disabled daughter, which I think is some other kind of thing going on in the psyche, yeah. Because they sit in your heart, right? Like your sister, yeah. They
Yeah.
just sit there. You basically have a little bit of sticky tape of their soul in your soul, right?
Yeah.
We're not supposed to actually carry people's souls around with us, right? It's actually, yeah. Or chronically, let's put it that way. We shouldn't be holding something chronically. But when I said to my dad, you need to put some boundaries, tell her it's not acceptable to put your manhood down, because we all know that prostate is in that area, right?
Yeah.
And he laughed, and this is before he died, and he said to me, if I do that, he said, I won't get my dinner.
I know. It's that, isn't it? Yeah. It's
And
the
I
money.
said, they don't do dinner up there, Dad. He goes,
Yeah.
I know when. I'm gonna let you have that, but I can't. She can't change. I said,
Mm.
no, I know that, Dad. I know you can't change her, but you could try and change you. And I wanted to wrap Julie in some cotton wool and kidnap her and just take her down by the sea and say to everyone, you can't contact her.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like the man in Canada, I could take her back 3 weeks' time, let's say, because she's going to miss them, right? They're her people, they're her tribe. And I'll take her back and it's all just going to be for no good, right? And so I know that's why all of your curing and healing and everything has to come within, and I have the greatest respect. So the next thing I did was I went on this Paul Lindesert's course, right, as a root cause practitioner, which, by the way, was £3,000.
Yeah.
That was not cheap. But when we put money on things, what did I get? I did actually gain something from it, but actually, I then discovered a radical remission, like yourself, who's down the road from me. And then she had the recipe. So he had the ingredients, like the patterns were right,
Yeah.
but she has the recipe, the ingredient, she could put all the recipe together and come up with something. And something she taught me was this, and it was before Julie passed. I was able to do this on Julie, and this is my take on this, right? Before, because I wanted to get this little bit in before, it's quite an important thing before we ever end this call and I forget. So, say for example, if you said to me, Wendy, if somebody, because by the way, I don't use that practitioner thing, I only use it for family and friends. There is no public need for me to use it because I am actually an IT manager in in the daytime. So, but I do it for family and friends, and the rules are you never tell. Like I went to somewhere this weekend with 25 people with stage 4 cancer, and I never once told them what I'm telling you. If they got a vibe off me and asked me a question, I was always going to help, right? But that's the rules. You can't just tell someone something because it has to be at the right time in their life, like an alignment, yeah. Just like we're here today, this is the right time for me to tell you something that I've learned. And I think what I'm about to tell you, you already know this. So this is my take on it. Let's say somebody's got breast cancer. And what would I say to them? They've said, "Look, Wendy, I know you've been doing some bits and pieces. What's your take on it?" So I know there's this right breast, left breast. Right being male, left being female. It kind of stands. It does stand there because usually something like, say, Julie was right, but I think that was her stepfather and the life that we had. I think that was her. I think that started as a limited, but like a learning thing, a limited belief years ago of a way that she suppressed, and something happened to her. Like, you don't want to know on this call, but some things happened between her and her stepfather, our stepfather, and I think later on in life, during her diagnosis, that same feeling that she had, that unsafe, the same way she was suppressing it back then, she did it again during her diagnosis. If I know what I know now, I would have sat Julie down and said, look, I know you've just been told by your oncologist, and I would never interfere with all the treatment and oncologists. That's a person's personal choice. But I would have taken her home that day and said, look, sit with me and just, Julie, can I just pick at, how are you? What's going on for you at the moment? How are you feeling? See if I know she'd be in fear. I understand that, and may have to wait 3 or 4 days before I can get a chance to talk to her. But I probably would have picked at this in a different way. Like, what are you holding? Where's that tension coming from? Help us see if she could meditate to get more of a feeling of what that is. Because I truly believe something very tight was holding in her breast. And that was an emotion that was now holding on really tight. And I know that accumulated over years. I don't think but the diagnosis of the time is when the same feelings were coming up for her that she had years ago. I don't feel safe. There's something going on for me. I happen to know what that is. It is to do with her husband. But and the way I look at it is, if this tension's in the breast, then prana isn't happening. Like, you're not getting toxics out, you're not getting water and food in, and so it's not being nurtured, and all it's living on and thriving on is your stress or the suppressed tension that's in there. I could have maybe, I don't know this, I won't know now because she's passed, but she she kind of let me, I did tell her what I'm telling you now, and she kind of looked at me. She thought it was a bit scammy, right? But and I understand that. And I said to her, we could have worked on helping you unravel this tension. Like, just taking a bloody breath, right?
Yeah.
Just slowing down. Who are you serving? Are your needs being met? How is life looking for you, Julie? Should we put some boundaries in between you and the children a little bit? Because, whatever. But I didn't speak to her like that because I was too late, right? This was now 19 years later when I learned this different approach, to emotional body. And I would never have stopped her from having treatment. That is so personal. That is somebody's choice, and I get that. And I'd be mortified if someone didn't do the work, the holistic work, and then they popped off because they, yeah.
Yeah.
But treatment would have given her more time to do that work, of course. And this lady that I met, local to me, she's similar to yourself. She's doing a community, and she's teaching me about prevention because she's radical remission. She was there, like you. She knew that. She knows all those feelings that happened on this day, that day, this day, that day. The scans, the fear, no, you could never carbon copy that unless you're in it, right?
Yeah.
And so she's taught me this soft approach about, probably the first thing I'd say to somebody is, just slow down. Slow down. What's coming up for you? Forget everybody else. Don't worry about the bathroom needs cleaning. Yeah. So thank you for listening to that little bit, because that's the bit I'm learning.
That's the perfection there, and I'm feeling really grateful to you for sharing that, because it's all I ever kind of bang on about, and you have come across this as well. It's just nice to be singing off the same hymn sheet, and I feel grateful to be building this community where I hope to be interviewing pretty much everyone who's in the group, because everyone has some pearl of wisdom that someone can benefit from. Because
True.
The thing I found really uncomfortable is people coming to me basically saying, well, what supplements did you take? They don't give a shit about all of the work that I do 24/7. It's what supplements. And I'm not going to be helping anyone by disclosing that. I mean, I'm happy to, but it's not about that. It's about this. It's about everything. It's not even just about the breathing. That certainly helps, and people have managed like the radical remissions from just doing that. Mm-hmm. When I went on a meditation retreat the first time I got cancer, it was like a 5-day retreat, because I used to do Vipassana, which was 10-day retreats. And so I did this 5-day one, which was a lot friendlier and nicer. And I felt my lump shrink. So I knew that I needed to be in that place more. And people are frightened to get off the hamster wheel
I
of life
know.
because we teach everything. Like, not, there's a growing community now of people who are jumping off that hamster wheel, knowing that there's something else, knowing that all the money in the world, the great career, the wonderful family aren't ticking all the boxes. There's a feeling of emptiness because they haven't engaged with the sense of who they really are. And that's what that breathing does. It stops the mind keep telling us everything, dictating like the drunk person that it is. And it leads us into
And
that.
repeating the story. Yeah,
Yeah.
repeating the story. You don't want to repeat the story because the body doesn't, the subconscious doesn't know if you're real or you're telling a story. It really doesn't. So every time you say that story about this person or that feeling, it goes, well, whatever's your wish is my command. I taught my other half, Paul, we'd go to parties and he'd say, oh, I don't sleep very well. I don't sleep very well. I don't sleep well. I said, look, I appreciate you probably don't sleep very well. I don't want to, diss what you're saying. But can you tell people you do sleep really well? And he started to do it just to pacify me, right? And he went, oh, he said, that started to work. What is that about, right? So I experiment with this. I went and had a root canal. And on the way to the root canal, I went, I love root canals. They're amazing. They don't hurt. And the dentist is amazing. And I went in that dentist, like my face was all happy. I know I laughed inside, but I was laughing because I was experimenting. And my subconscious is going, okay, well, fine, well, I'll go with whatever you want, right? And I had a root canal and it never even hurt. And I came out and I just thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
But that's just a small experiment, right? This is different from cancer. I appreciate that, right?
Not though. It's not, because when we started the call, we talked about how I followed the mentor and was doing his course, and he'd bounced back from bankruptcy,
Yes.
knowing that he would. And my script in my head was, well, I'd find it easier to heal cancer. And then my blood results came back shit. So I knew that I had created that because that's where my mind was. It wasn't,
Right.
I can have big abundance, that's easy for me. It was, I'm really good at healing my body because I believe that I can. And I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I just mean
No.
it's easier for me to believe that than it is to believe that I'll be a millionaire. And I don't understand why, because it's far more difficult to be something that most, I don't like using that word, I will redact that word, to heal something that most people see as a death sentence, and there's not a lot of evidence about self-healing, than making money, which
No.
billions of people, make quite a significant amount of money. Millions.
I have a question for you. Did you ever watch the Hill documentary on YouTube?
I did, and I
What
can't
did you
remember
think?
it. I can't remember, but I didn't watch it. I watched it probably between. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I watched it the second time. It was around 2019, 2020. So I don't remember. Remind me.
Yeah, so if you go onto YouTube and type the Hill documentary in Spanish, because it's the only way you can find it, it's an hour's documentary in English with Spanish subtitles. I highly recommend it to anybody because it is life-changing. It floods your brain with, if you can make yourself poorly, I'm not saying people made this happen to themselves, right?
Yeah.
But if we can make ourselves poorly, we can make ourselves better. And the Hill documentary doesn't just talk about cancer, it talks about lots of other ailments and autoimmune diseases. But you see these examples of, and it's a great brain flooder. And the other one on YouTube is The Secret. So that's about the law of attraction, right? To begin with, the first sort of 20 minutes is a bit American greedy money, right? But actually, when you get past that, The Secret is mind blowing. Like someone has really kept this secret from us, right? And that's also like life impacting, because you need these shifts, you need these profound things to happen to you. And to meet my friend down the road who's a radical remission, she was melanoma, she was under Reading Oncology, she had 40 tumours, she had 11 in her brain, she had 3 to 6 months to live. And she went to her place of work almost after being diagnosed, and this random woman across this, she worked in a bar, said, "Oh, before you go," she didn't even know her, she said, "Don't forget to watch the Hill documentary." And she thought, that's odd.
Yeah.
But you know, she went home and did that. Admittedly, it was a little bit more than that, but she didn't do the food. She did do two immunotherapies. They were target immunotherapies. One of them really nearly busted her. But the first one, she thinks the first immunotherapy treatment put her immune system back online.
Yeah.
And then her holistic stuff that she was doing, she did go down the Joe Dispenza route to begin with. Obviously, she does her own meditation now, but that was actually a bit of a lifesaver because that slowed her down, and she did it longer because he teaches you how to do it longer. You're not, you know how Vipassana works. So all of this came all of a sudden, right? So I thought to myself, wouldn't it be lovely if, I say lovely, but wouldn't it be paradigm shifting if you went to the doctors, right? And they said, look, I'm sorry to tell you, Mrs. Jones, you do have breast cancer and here's your treatment. Bosh, right? And let's say Mrs. Jones passes away. It's okay because GSK has a long list of things that tell you could die, right? We know how it works. But let's say you said, Mrs. Jones, there is no treatment, but there's a door here and you can have some holistic help, la, 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 and therapy. And then she passes away, right? The family are going to be furious and they're going to sue the hell out of the National Health. But it was okay to die from this. That's okay. But
Yeah.
what I would like to see is, Mrs. Jones, you have breast cancer and this is your treatment. And we're also going to give you some help. I know some places do this, but
Yeah.
they're all charities, right?
Yeah.
We just want to check in with you, Mrs. Jones, just for the next few weeks. You know, make sure you're okay with what we've just told you. Not okay, but, you know, process the fear, yeah. And not the word fear, because it's just funny, actually, that word, it's not funny, but if I say to you umbrella, right, what do you think?
Yeah. So,
Rain, right?
yeah.
But if I say fear to you,
Yeah.
it's just a word, right? It's a horrific thing that we just, words can have so many limited beliefs in it. So let's say Mrs. Jones has both of those. What I'd like to see is that actually the door with the help could actually complement the chemo or the treatment,
Yeah.
because her mindset is like the first thing I'd say to any if I got diagnosed, like the first thing I'd say, what is it? And I'd say to the oncologist, what is cancer? And they'd be like, because they're 1 in 2, right? They've got to get you out of there in a quite quick time if they can. Um, I'd be wanting to know the ins and outs of a rat's bum. I want to know where did I get it from? Why I know the answers now, but if that had happened to me 20 years ago, he'd have not got away with that. And I'd have said, turn that screen round, I want some photos. And then I'd have put the photos on my fridge. My kids think I'm absolutely nuts. And I'd put any tumours on the fridge and I'd call them names, Beryl, whatever they want. And every time they aggravate me, I go, you just pissed Beryl off, right? That's how I would process it, I think, I hope.
No, I think
Because it's,
that's what I did.
just,
Yeah. Mine
yeah.
was Pingu the first time round because I thought, what's the most ridiculous, unthreatening name? Pingu, isn't it? Because
What did you call it?
Pingu, you know that cartoon penguin? Because I just thought it takes away the heat of it.
Yeah, I
So if
love
you
that.
are that way inclined, you will. You'll take shit
Yeah,
and turn it into gold.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, so now I'm 61 this year, but might retire in the next couple of years, and then I might do prevention work. I don't know yet. I'm not decided. But my sister, who is living, absolutely hates what I do. She said, I hate what you do because you're normalizing cancer. I was like, I never looked at it like that, right? So she's obviously in fear, yeah. She
Yeah.
said, "Why would you do this? You've lost your sister and your dad, and you're still playing around with it." It's like, I don't know. I don't know. Just maybe we're all here for a reason to do what we've got to do.
And
Don't know.
has it removed your fear to some extent? Because otherwise, you know, you could,
100%.
yeah,
100%. I'm saying that because I don't have it, right? So that's really easy for me to say. Um, but 100%, I don't fear it. If it comes, there may be a moment in time when you're just told that information, but then I would like, right, okay, I what have I been doing to cause that? What have I done? Not because I deserve it. It's not that about that.
isn't
But I
it's
would sit in,
think
right,
that
this
because
is my vessel, my body, my cancer, and I'm going to
yeah,
take ownership of it. And I'm not going to sit in victim, but this is easy said than done
I think you've
because,
got that mindset
yeah,
because that's the way that it would be for me. I I love the idea that I've created it because then I can uncreate it. It really empowered me. I never once saw that as a victim move. It was like, bring it on. I want to go into that box and take everything out. In fact, I'm tipping it out and I'm going to put it all back in gently, in order.
but
And
you
when
did something quite ornate, though. Very quickly, you did something very quickly, as you know, and I know what you did. But I want to just tell you, my mum died at 67 from COPD, right? And
yeah,
the hospital said, "Oh, did your mum have cancer?" I was like, "No." And I thought about this. I thought, why didn't she have cancer then? And because all her family had cancer, right? And then, because I don't agree with genetics anyway, I think it's emotion coming down the line, right? So um, she married and divorced 4 times. If she felt discomfort, divorce them.
yeah,
She felt discomfort again, she divorced them. I'm not saying that funnily because,
yeah,
there were moments in there when it was tricky. But my mum never took no shit from nobody. She told me this even as a very young age. When you leave the front door, you put some big balls on you. I was like, that is weird, mum. But she said that's how you survive out there, right? I was like, I didn't really get it, but now I understand what she was trying to say. She was Irish and she didn't hold back.
yeah,
But I thought, yeah, that's what she did. Every time she got discomfort, she changed it, right? And that's why I think cancer is chronic stress stuck in the body. And I don't eat because you could talk about babies and children, right? That's a very difficult one
yeah,
because they didn't come here and get stressed or have a weird family or whatever, but they did have a weird family because if you look at in the womb at 4 weeks, there is fascia on the nervous system. There's no cortex. Cortex comes in 11th week, right? And anyway, even when the cortex comes, it's not until you go to school you start analyzing anyway. You're taught, aren't you, how to analyze. But they've proven that this little thing here is already got feelings, right? And I don't want to upset anybody because I know things. So everybody's circumstances are different, right? But
yeah,
but it's that fascia that's come from centuries of, grandfathers coming from, you know, trenches, and
yeah,
so yeah. And also when the baby comes out, I didn't notice this myself. I had twins. I was so overwhelmed by the birth. I didn't even look, but I could see they kept trying to look at me because they're trying to check me out, aren't they?
yeah,
Is mum all right? Is mum all right? Yeah, they're not analysing me. They're just like it's a feeling, you
yeah,
know. And I think we forget to fit. Well, not even think. I know we're not feeling because we're going in 100 miles an hour. Whereas if you and I were still in the cave, we'd probably just be dropping a couple of sprogs, preparing the fire, and maybe do some skinning or so, ready for the beds, right? And he'd come back and he's like, I got some food for us all. Sleep, repeat, right?
Mm.
And the 30% energy that we have, so we have 70% water, let's say, and 30% energy, that was for the saber-toothed tiger that comes to the front of the cave. You're gonna run like shit.
Yeah.
That wasn't there to be a CEO of a company. That wasn't there to, do all the crazy things we do, doom scrolling and drama. That's not designed for that.
Yeah.
And it's not till you go right back to basics. You're like, oh, so where your thoughts are is where your energy goes.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I remember once being told, the incident happens once, but we repeat it 50 times. It's like, no, not 50 times, not 50 times, more like 5,000 times. As someone with an overactive thinking brain, it's constant. My sister broke her leg, and I woke up with just that feeling of guilt, shame. It brought up a lot of childhood stuff. And in the middle of the night, I'm trying to rationalize and center myself because such a lot of stuff is here. It's sort of more solar plexus, heart chakra, but it's dense to the point that it's almost like it's a connected cycle of thoughts, feelings, and it's like I needed to break that cycle in order to just be okay for a minute, just so that I knew that being okay was possible. Because my sister she's a baby in a 46-year-old body, and she's got, like, if anyone's having a bad day, my sister is having a way worse day. And so I'm so grateful to have her in my life because I don't take things for granted. But like you said, there's an imprint of her soul, like, completely. And I feel such shame and pity and sadness when anything bad happens to her, because it's like, it's not fair. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And the thing that kind of anchored me was, when I had cancer, would I have wanted my sister to carry that load? And it was like, no, God, no. No, that was mine. And I was doing all right with that. So no, I don't want my sister to feel any guilt or sadness on my behalf. I just want her to be there and to love me. And it gave me that moment of seeing that my brain didn't have to be in this cycle. My body didn't have to be in this cycle. And if I could just stay in that part that made me feel grateful and loving, then that was healing me. The other bit was not healing me. It was toxic. It was putting too much strain on my body. But I have an awareness of that now. When I was leaving my partner the first time, and I left before having the diagnosis, and I knew that the healing had started because I'd left, because all the time I hadn't left, I was walking around the house. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate what he's doing to me. I fucking hate him. Like, there was so much anger that he was treating me the way that he was, and the children, that's all I could think. And then I was in fear. What if he hurts us? What if he takes the children? It was like that level of fear, because I never wanted kids. I didn't want that responsibility because I'd always had Haley. But having them, that was it. I was a mum, and I didn't realize what an impact that would have on me and how much I would love that job. And so the thought of anyone taking my kids just because they were half the DNA, it was like, no, that can't happen. And I'd been on the Freedom Program, which scares you, basically. It scares you because it's very good at making their behavior more understandable. But it's terrifying, because when you leave someone who's abusive, that's the most dangerous time. And I was leaving his house, taking his children, all under the radar.
Wow.
And it was really frightening. And when I left, I got the solicitor involved. But it was really frightening because we were going to court. And by then I'd had the diagnosis. And so fear was a massive part. But also being so untrue to myself by being in those relationships, you know?
And you
That's why
see the pattern is chronic.
Yeah, totally.
It's the chronic, yeah? And then, so I truly believe this, right? I could have a really stressful meeting, and then I could go and have a PET scan,
Yeah.
and then the PET scan would show a couple of red dots, but which we know is inflammation. And until they take a tiny bit of that, they don't really know if it's benign or cancerous, right? But then the next day, I solved the problem, had the meeting, everyone just had a great time and we fixed it. And I have a PET scan, there's nothing there, right?
Mm.
So I think, that if those cancer cells are hanging around and they're like, oh, this thing keeps happening. Oh, this thing keeps happening. Oh, it's happening in the heart, or it's happening in this breast, right? Because you're in your masculine, right? Because that's what happens when you're in a relationship with a male. Let's say, I'd kind of sort of, that's the Louise Hay and the Chinese medicine, and then all of a sudden these cancer cells all start meeting up, and it takes a long time. Apparently it takes anything up to 2 to 3 years for a tumor to accumulate. And they all start meeting together in this place where, oh, we can meet here because this is dying. This bit's dying. We'll all
Yeah.
meet here because, yeah, and we could live off this because we'd rather not have any prana. And this person just keeps repeating the chronic. There's thriving here.
Yeah.
And then when you do something very different, like that was extremely brave what you did. And my mum did it with us. My mum was married and divorced 4 times. So I've been there, done that, right? And I could almost see my mum's face change the time she would leave each one, right? I could see her become a different person. Ugh, then she'd bloody meet another one, right? Well, that's just another story. But I could imagine the tension was in her and she just changed it, right? Changed it up. But she wouldn't have known what you and I have just described. And fair play to her, she probably
Yeah.
had something there, the recipe for avoiding cancer, right?
Yeah.
And, it's been shown that testicle cancer, I'll just give you an example, the patterns. This is not Wendy Harbour saying this is the truth. This is a pattern from real people real men with testicles. I don't know any women with testicles. Oh, except for me when I go out the door. Anyway, and so testicle cancer. I'm going to put my my words on the line here from a pattern that I've learned is when a male he quite likes somebody, say, at work, or somebody another female he quite likes, but he does love his wife, right? And it's when he's making love to his wife who he loves, but he's thinking about this person he quite fancies. And so the tension becomes chronic in the place that is to do with sex, right? That's the place, right? And somebody who's got testicle cancer could go, what a load of shit, right? It's okay. I don't mind that. But 70% of the patterns are that and have come out that same scenario, right? Or they say that's bullshit because they don't want to actually confess that's actually what happened. Because it's not that they're having an affair, it's just where their thoughts are. It's where their emotions are.
Yeah.
And they're chronic, yeah. And so, yeah. So because I always think to myself, why does cancer go to different parts of the body? It's cancer, right? Why doesn't it just go to your nose? Why doesn't it just go to your ear? It's picking places because that's where you're holding your most thoughts. So that's where your thoughts will take your energy, and then that will become your story. And that, I think, is cancer. I think smoking, alcohol, diet, toxins are mutations. So I had an uncle who smoked, who had lung cancer. I had a friend who had lung cancer that never smoked. The one who smokes with lung cancer would just die earlier, right? Because smoking is a mutation.
Yeah.
But I happen to know both of them had grief.
Yeah.
Their stories were very similar. So I believe that if you could get rid of this shit, this tension that's hanging around inside you, you'll start to eat differently because you're well. So I'm not dissing food, but
Yeah.
if somebody says, "Oh, I've cured myself by diet alone," I'm sorry, but there's something else you did change.
Mm.
You didn't do that just alone. Yeah. You might have kept cancer at bay if you were in keto foods, right? Because we know that cancer doesn't thrive very well when you're in ketosis. But you're only just putting off the inevitable. It's like drinking alcohol. You're just numbing yourself. You're not really addressing the situation. I know quite a lot of people that have drunk a lot and then stop drinking because they just want to stop drinking, and then they get things like cancer because they've just, they've numbed this situation.
Yeah.
So that's quite interesting too, isn't it? So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm aware of time and stuff like that, but um, I really was looking forward to speaking to you today,
Yeah.
just to,
Fascinating. I think we've got such a lot in.
yeah,
Really nice that you've
definitely
developed this as a result of, two massive losses.
two
Instead,
massive losses.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's not that you're negating the grief. That grief is there. You can't negate that. It's there. But you
no,
are channeling, you're alchemizing again the grief.
and thank you for sharing your story and and how you've done this, because that's how I found you, because I was like, yeah, I wanted to cheerlead you.
That's
I wanted a pom pom and say well done, because you are on the right lines, and I'm so proud of you. I'm not saying nobody else's journey isn't, because we both know that while you're in fear, it's so difficult to heal.
yeah.
If you could just come out of that stupid word, that horrible fearness that the world gives you, and let yourself be loved, you'll find it.
Yeah. And like you, I don't advocate for any treatment. It's like, do what you want to do that's in your heart, that's right to do. I don't give a shit what that is, but do all the work around that as well, because it's a fusion of everything. It's like, I remember thinking, my life has got me here, so I just need to go and tweak every aspect of my life, just a notch, just tweak it, and then I know that
Yeah.
I'm not in that same position that I was when I got it.
And I love that you've just processed your sister's broken leg in a different way than would you've done last time,
Yeah.
because you were the rescuer, right? And you can still rescue, but you've got to slow down your rescue. Like, are my needs being met first, so then I can be a proper rescuer? you
Yeah.
know a proper rescue, as in, feeling, I've got it, I've got myself here, now I'm ready to rescue. Whereas before, straight in, and the tension's back, and I love what you just described about her, because I know what you gave to her most of your life, her life, yeah, both of your lives. And you're quite right. If she had been the 46-year-old, she wouldn't have wanted you to have done this, by the way.
Yeah.
She would have wanted your help, your practical help, but there'd have been boundaries, about, like I'd say to Julie, how's your mental health? If you ask me one more time about my mental health, I'm going to bash you, she said, because sometimes you can't just go in there and think you know what they're thinking. You
Yeah.
just got to tell them that you're there for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah,
It's been
so
really,
sweet.
really good speaking to you, and we should definitely do this again, because I think, you've got such a breadth of knowledge and wisdom now, but you're really interesting, and it's like you're living, and that's
Yeah, I'm
the
living. Yeah, and I have empathy, but I also know, like, my next door neighbor has just been diagnosed with sarcoma in her jaw, and it's eaten all her jaw. Initially, I was a bit upset because I've known her for 20 years. And my mentor, which is this lady in Maidenhead, said to me, "You've got to be careful you're not grieving your next door neighbor's life. Just come away slightly and just remember what you know and what you don't know." And I was grieving her life. Felt sad for her. I thought, shit, because her husband's whatever. I don't want to say on here, but because I can see the patterns, right? But
yeah.
I could have almost predicted it. But I that's really horrible of me, because she had colon cancer 5 years ago, and now she's got sarcoma, right? So I could have predicted that, right? Because if you don't change, it's almost 4 to 5 years later, the metastasizes come. Because I can't put a figure on it, but it's the patterns I'm picking up on. She made no changes, right? And so she said, "You can't grieve for somebody, sweetheart. You can't be practical. What can?" So I brought her a chemo bag because she's having chemo today, actually. And I just brought her a little bag saying, "You're strong, you're worthy," and some smelling salts and an eye mask and some earplugs for the hospital, right?
Yeah.
I just went into practical mode, not, "Have you tried this, and that?" She's not ready for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm learning how to back off, stay in my lane, and if
Wait.
somebody asks,
Right.
which is what you did, you asked me to come on here. I was like, ah! I've got a voice. I can say something, right? I've
Yeah.
never told anybody half of what I've told you, most
Mm.
of what I told you. So thank you for giving me the platform
Yeah. No.
to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Something's going to
and
resonate
you
with
quite
other
say share
people.
it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, yeah, I'm really grateful to you, and let's speak again soon.
Yeah, and good luck on your channel and
Thank you.
your
Yeah.
community.
Thank you. All right. Lots of
You're
love.
welcome. And you too. Speak to you soon.
Yeah. Bye bye.
Bye.